Jain साहब unmute करें. Jain साहब, please unmute yourself.
Chidanandji, please unmute and start. Chidanandji, please unmute and start.
Yes, I am unmuted and I'm starting.
Okay. Please begin.
Yeah. Okay. Oh. Namaste, everyone. Life is full of relationships, whether we want it or not. Various situations arise, and we are required to respond. There is this word responsibility. Normally, we take the word responsibility in the sense of having a certain duty to do certain things and having a certain onus on us. If something goes wrong, people will blame us. We will be held responsible. There is that popular meaning. However, some thinkers have said another dimension of responsibility is that we are required to respond. We cannot turn our face away. We cannot pretend to be not hearing or not seeing what is happening in front of us. In human life, thus, all of us have to respond to emerging scenarios in even day-to-day life. With this, we take up the theme this evening, responses of two kinds. One is fragmented and the second is total. In Krishnaji's teachings, he frequently calls for total response and laments the general scenario in everybody's life where the response is seen to be fragmented. So call it total response or whole response, wholehearted response. You may also look at it as unbiased response. You may look at it as dealing with situations with total objectivity. Many are the ways in which we describe this matter called total response. In our Indian languages, Kannada or Marathi, Gujarati or Hindi, for total, for full, we use the word Purna. Purna is full, total, and Ansha or Anshika is part, which also means fragmented, broken. If a mirror is broken, then we don't see ourselves as we are. There is a distortion of the image that the mirror shows to us. Likewise, in relationships, if our response is fragmented, then it does neither to us nor to others, it does any justice. There is injustice, there is continued suffering. Having raised the word Purna, I may quickly mention that in the Indian philosophy, There is a mantra that all of you know. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. The word Purna comes several times in that mantra, generally with the Upanishads of Shukla Yajurveda like Ishavasya Upanishad. So over there is a certain hint that really you and I are inheritors of Purnatva, wholeness. There is a certain wholeness in us waiting to be uncovered or discovered. Krishnaji himself, I think, said at some place, they refer to some saintly person as His Holiness or Her Holiness. And Krishnaji generally doesn't like such epithets or such labels or descriptions. So with a bit of a taunt on those descriptions of somebody, some lady or man being called His or Her Holiness, he then makes a very insightful remark. There is no other holiness, he says, than being whole. When there is wholeness, that is holiness. Nobody becomes holy by holding some staff or wearing some special dress or carrying some insignia and so on. Holiness comes to us without our wanting it when we have wholeness. And a child has that wholeness. Grown up adults lose that wholeness. As people, you and me, grow up, we get so conditioned. And the way we see situations itself is distorted, then you cannot but escape. Rather, you cannot escape, I should say. You cannot escape responding also in a distorted or fragmented manner. Therefore, while there are mantras and shlokas, and there is a whole lot of inherited literature with us, it is sad that to come upon such total response is rarely found. People quote this or that mantra, people recite this or that shloka, or they draw from even Western or some other mystical literature, from Zen or from Sufism or Christian mysticism or somewhere. They quote, but do they respond to situations totally is the question. Before I get into a couple of comments on fragmented versus total response, I would quickly make a reference to that well-known poem of Tagore, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments. Look, where the word fragments comes in Tagore's poem, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. So, being broken up into fragments, the world is broken up into fragments, and who makes the world? You and I make the world. We are broken up into fragments. We carry labels upon ourselves in our own minds. I am a South Indian. I am a fair complexioned man. I am foreign returned. And these people haven't gone to foreign countries. We label others, we label ourselves. That is fragmentation. That is at the root of fragmentation. In fact, it's interesting that in order that we come out with total response, we need to be total. What does it mean to be total? We need to be whole. We need to be purna, or if I may add a word, we need to be infinite. And I would scream, how can I be infinite? I cannot be Ananta. Now there is an option which is equally good. The other option is if you cannot be infinite, be a zero. Zero and infinity have a very interesting closeness. Put two zeros in terms of writing, write zero two times, bring them together, flatten them up a little bit. That becomes the symbol of infinity. So infinity is nothing but zero. Zero outside and zero inside. What does it mean to be zero? Let's not just play with words, being serious. If you and I can see the falsity of our looking at ourselves as belonging here or belonging there, seeing the falsity, not knowing shlokas or mantras, seeing the falsity of our separate I, seeing the falsity of our ego, we can come upon being zero, and that itself is being boundless. Zero has no boundary. Someone nicely remarked, if somebody makes sound, somebody, let's say, sings a 2-minute piece of some music, some song, moment there is sound, moment there is singing, there is noise, somebody can say, you know, this is a Hindustani piece of music, this is a Carnatic piece of music, this is a piece of music with a Western flavor, and so on. But suppose somebody is silent, can you call that silence Hindustani silence, Carnatic silence, Western silence, Australian silence? One cannot label it. Likewise, we must understand that by inquiry, by investigation, by observing the movement of the self, we can come upon an inner silence. Otherwise, we are so used to it's the old, what Tagore called the desert sand of dead habit. It's an old dead habit in us to think of ourselves as how good I am, how bad that man is, or some other place, how talented she is. I'm nowhere near her. So we either put ourselves down or make ourselves sit at a height. Oh, I just had to check 15 minutes ago the expansion of the abbreviation which is very popular these days everywhere, OTT. I myself was not able to remember. So we have now Google. I checked, and interestingly, OTT means over the top. Over the top. And that, as you know, OTT is a platform where film and television programs and documentaries or entertainment, etc., is all brought on the internet to suit your convenience, at your will, at the time chosen by you, and at a place where you wish to sit and watch, you may see the OTT material over the top. Now, psychologically, You and I put ourselves over the top in some context and down in the ditch in some other context. All through the day, the mind, which means the thought is busy pigeonholing us. Thought puts us in a pigeonhole. Pigeonhole means, look, you belong here. Don't you act too smart. That lady is so qualified. You are so less qualified. Thought starts commenting in unwarranted places. Therefore, friends, fragmentation thrives in this kind of judgmentalism. M.K. Gandhi was deeply touched by John Ruskin's book, Unto the Last. And later on, when Gandhiji wrote a paraphrase of John Ruskin's book, Unto the Last, he titled it, None High, None Low. Knowingly or unknowingly, Gandhiji was touching upon an unfragmented outlook. If our mind doesn't look at anyone as high, anyone as low, unless the particular context warrants or calls for some unique skill. If somebody brings a paragraph in French, maybe written by J. Krishnamurti, well, some of us, maybe 2 or 3 among us, know how to read French. Then that person who can read French will read that paragraph. Others have to just wait and listen to her who says the meaning of it. Otherwise, who cares? Somewhere we are watching a sunrise, and if we are looking at the lady who knows French as superior to us, even as we are watching sunrise, some 5 of us, and one of the 5 is a French knowing lady. Does it make sense for me to become conscious? Oh my God, this morning, as we are watching sunrise, can you believe one of the persons in this group knows French? Knowing French has nothing to do with enjoying sunrise. And a whole lot of our daily life is like that. Knowing French or being good in golf or being very knowledgeable in artificial intelligence or having traveled to 25 countries around the world has nothing to do with the 99 out of 100 situations that come into our life. But we become very image conscious. We judge others, we judge ourselves. As long as this image consciousness, status consciousness, prestige, by which I mean false prestige, or a false sense of inferiority. As long as these are not eliminated, there is going to be fragmentation, and so much of violence occurs in human life because of fragmentation. What is then total response when we live in the present, when we are free of conditionings? And I am never tired of repeating, by deciding not to go to the past or go to the future, nothing will happen. By deciding, at the most for a short period of time, you may keep your mouth shut or your mind can be kept quiet for a short time with regard to memories of the past. But after that short while, the mind will burst out with memories. And our mouth also cannot keep quiet. We will be talking, we will be saying something. To keep quiet, really, in a deep sense, is next to impossible for most of us because the pressure of tendencies, habits, memories, conditionings, opinions, beliefs, the meaning we attach to symbols, the meaning we attach to gestures, and so on. The pressure is so much. We cannot sit quietly, we cannot be silent. Krishnamurti has spoken about fragmentation in a rather profound manner. He makes actually rather mystical statements. One of the statements I came across during a little review this afternoon is Krishnaji says, there is actually no division between a man and the world. Man and the world have no division between them. In fact, while everywhere else the word individual is used to refer to a person, a man, a woman, he or she is called an individual. And hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands together are called the world or the society. So there is a difference. We refer to a single person as an individual. But Krishnaji says really what the word individual means, indivisible. It's a very new meaning he has given to the word individual. But he says in one of his works, he says the word individual means an entity who in himself is indivisible. Normally we take just the opposite meaning. An individual is someone who stands apart from all others. Individual. But Krishnaji gives the meaning indivisible. That is, he sees things on a deeper plane. That is freed from conditionings. And that is true piousness, true piety. If you and I are truly sadhus, then we are concerned with all. Whites or blacks, Arabs or Jewish, Hindus or Muslims, Christians or Baha'i people, believers or non-believers, theists or atheists, dark-skinned or fair-skinned, etc., etc. There is a certain silence within us with regard to all these. No wonder again one of the old shlokas, subhashitas as we call them, uses the famous expression, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva is not at all same as Vasudeva. Some people give a distorted version of that quotation. It is not Vasudeva at all. Let me clarify. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudha means the earth. Eva is to emphasize. The earth itself is one family. I think there is going to be a get-together of representatives of some 20 countries in India. India is hosting it in this year. And that getting together is called G20. G for group. A group of 20 nations will meet in India this year, and I'm sure every one of you has seen the hoardings everywhere in all big cities, especially. The hoardings have quoted Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Leave aside all this propaganda, all this advertisement, all this, writing on the wall, but think about what the vision would have been of whoever gave that expression. Ayam nijaha paroveti ganana laguchetasa udara charitanam tu sudhaiva kutumbakam is the whole shloka. To say, this lady is of my group and that man belongs to another group. Ayam nijaha, my person, and paraha, the person of another nationality or religious group or professional group. This kind of ganana, this kind of consideration belongs to petty-minded people. lagu chetasam ganana tadrishi bhavati. And for those who are broad-minded, udara charitanam tu vasudhaiva kutumbakam. The fourth pada of that shloka is a punchline. You and I can memorize the shlokas. As I am doing, we can quote it in a lecture and mislead the audience to think that we have that outlook. But outlooks of equality don't come to us by memorizing or reciting or chanting loudly some shloka. Finally, you and I will have to come to self-awareness and observing observing the little self in operation, watching the movement of the self-inquiry. It is inquiry which will debug the operating system of our thinking. Krishnaji has spoken extensively on fragmented response and in contrast, responding in totality. When our mind is silent, then without preparation, without planning how I will meet with the situation, we will actually come out with the right response. When there is a certain purity within us, right response comes spontaneously. While in contrast, if we lack that inner purity, we have strong biases, let us say. And in this world, alas, everybody finds fault with others, saying, look, they are biased, look, they are biased. And one is not aware of one's own bias. Everybody says, all these people are prejudiced against me. I feel insecure. And person who says that becomes so agitated, so troubled that he or she gets violent. Then the other people of whom he said he was afraid will have to be afraid of him now. Because all these agitations, all this insecurity makes the person on one hand afraid, but on the other violent. And then others are in trouble. So there is a catch-22 here. Unless you are free of fear, you will not let go of distorted thinking. And unless you let go of distorted thinking, fear will not leave your bosom. In our village, where I grew up, there used to be a humorous saying. If somebody who is already 26 or 27 is not yet married and goes around the town in a little crazy manner, undisciplined manner, and there are some cases like that sometimes. The young man doesn't get up in time and is a problem at home, problem outside. And though basically bright and was studying well at one time, now at the age of 26 or 27, unmarried, let's say there is a young man who is more a headache to his own family and others. Then in our village, in Kannada, they used to say, let me put it in English, they would say, you see, this fellow 26 already, if he marries, he will be all right. He will get some responsibility. He will feel the sense of responsibility. Let him marry. Let us get him married. But there is a problem now. Unless his behavior becomes proper, no family would give their daughter to him. So, without going long on that humorous parallel, unless he marries, he won't become all right in behavior. Unless his behavior becomes all right, he won't get a girl to take as his wife. This is called catch-22. Unless you have A, you don't get B. Unless you have B, you won't get A. So what to do? Now, this seems to be a humorous, but there is actually a very serious side to this. And that is amazing. That is where Krishnamurti, Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta, and certain stalwarts, high plateau mystics talk about suspending effort, suspending doing, and staying in seeing only. Moment you put in effort, moment you do something, moment you roll up your sleeves and decide, tomorrow onwards I'm going to be very unbiased, just watch. I will be unbiased. That itself strengthens the I. That itself is coming from the burden of memories. Somebody says to his friends, all of you have been thinking of me as good for nothing, as a fool, as somebody idiotic and unintelligent. I'll show you just to see how I behave from tomorrow. I will be more mature than all of you. You understand? Like that, the man speaks. He is speaking out of his hurt. He is speaking out of his agony. Oh, he is speaking out of certain frustration. He is speaking out of the pain of how his friends and relatives had wounded him by their comments. And the teachings say to us, if you respond from wound or hurt or pain or anguish or frustration or some negative energy, when you respond from negative energy, that response itself is fragmented. Catch 22 again. In order to come out with a total response, you need to have a calm mind. And how do you get a calm mind? By coming out with total responses in situation after situation, you will have a certain calmness in you. Oh, this is a catch 22. Unless you have A, you won't get B. Unless you have B, you won't get A. Where to start? Therefore, don't announce. Don't resolve. Don't in the psychological domain. Please. In other domains, you need to work. If you need to book a ticket to go from Indore to Mumbai by flight, you better sit down and yourself online or go to a travel agent. Give me a ticket. Here is the money. You need to act. You need to plan. You need to act. But in the psychological domain of changing our very perception, it's not booking a travel ticket. It's not about preparing some low class. It is not about building a house. These are physical things. It is about changing the way we see others or ourselves. So that very perception has to change. For that change in perception, the real way is to be intensely aware of how we are perceiving presently. In perceiving presently or perceiving intensely how our little self is operating, how the idea that I am a handsome man, very pretty lady, I have a degree from Oxford, I have just now returned from Australia, or some other kind of putting ourselves down. All my brothers are millionaires and I have a hand-to-mouth existence. What a shame. Suppose we are carrying such a thought, a label, at unwarranted places. Go to the beach, the noise inside you is louder than the noise of the rising waves, let us say. Go to Kedarnath, Badrinath, to some so-called holy place. Amidst all that quietude there, presumably at a time when it is quiet, your mind is noisy. Then you cannot come upon unfragmented response. But watch it. Watch, be aware, be patient with yourself. Do not blame yourself saying, I can never watch. This is not for me and so on. That's another noise. So friends, let me not go more into how to go about letting go of prejudices or biases, but matter comes to this only. When there is no bias, no prejudice, from that quietude within, there comes out unfragmented, total response. When there is opinion, when there is belief, when there is an identity that we take for ourselves, response is bound to be fragmented. And fragmentation is one of the main causes of inner conflict as well as conflict with others. Let me pause here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chidanandji, for delivering such a wonderful lecture. And this time you are giving 5 minutes more.
Oh, so you put it in a positive way. You could have blamed me. You took extra
No, I
time.
am not. I am touching out of love only.
I hope
Out
it's
of
not a
love, out of
prejudice.
silence.
Are you prejudiced in favor of me?
Not at all. Not at all. But after listening you, there is a silence. After listening you, there is a love. And out of that love, I said it simply. And furthermore, I wanted to listen Harshad sir.
Yes, all of us want
Please
to listen
unmute
to
Harshad sir.
Harshadji now.
Okay. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Swamiji. You are speaking very, very fluently, giving many examples and very interesting talk. The last thing which you said about conflict in relationship, and that is a big problem everywhere, whether it's in the family or between the countries. If our response is not good, then it will create friction in relationship. And that is what is happening everywhere in politics or even in religion. There is a lot of conflict and unhappiness. It is because our mind is fragmented and our listening is not very, very silent listening. So I learned about this responding from Krishnamurti's commentaries on living, the way Krishnaji is listening to many different people and asking the right question to make the person go deeper and not reacting or not giving any advice. So in Sanskrit, they say Satyam vadeta, Priyam vadeta. That means speak the truth and speak what is very sweet. And there is also another Maduram, Maduram, Vachanam, Maduram, a sloka. So it is probably an art how to respond. Sometimes one doesn't need to respond in too many words. There could be a non-verbal response. And that is the way many times Raman Maharshi used to respond. He used to remain silent, and only if he had something uh, good to say, then he would say. Like when Raman Maharshi's mother came and she was crying and wanted Raman Maharshi to go back with her to her home, Raman Maharshi remained quiet because he did not want to say anything. He was very clear. So when people are very clear, very silent, and there is love, then that probably communicates much more than the words which we speak out of fragmentation. So very, very important thing is to understand ourselves. As Swamiji said, that when we begin to understand our own mind, then we begin to understand also other people. And so we can minimize, we can understand human beings from where they are speaking. And if we don't react, because generally human beings react instead of responding. So that kind of a proper responding, it requires freedom. Freedom from the self, which has gathered a lot of knowledge. And from that knowledge, if we respond, then that will be a fragmentary response. But the response which comes from silence, from real understanding of the self, and having no division between me and you, that kind of a state of mind, it gives the right response, and it helps people. So I feel that a relationship can become very uh, good if we know how to respond properly without creating more conflict. Sometimes people who are very articulate, but they don't have the understanding, they keep on arguing for a long time. Sometimes even husband and wife, they argue a lot because there is no silence, no understanding. Even if one of the person in the two is mature, very silent, very understanding, then that conflict can be minimized. But both people, they are head on arguing out of their knowledge, then relationship becomes very, very conflicting and unhappy. So this is a very good topic, how to respond, and the response which comes from maturity, from understanding of oneself, from understanding human beings, and having some kind of silence, then it really works very well in all relationship. So thank you. I don't have much to say about it. Thank you very much.
Chidanandji, would you please say something more on this? Because
I would only say, that right at the beginning, Harshadji rightly pointed out that this conflict in relationship is the major issue in human life. Everywhere, within a family and in a town and nationwide and internationally also, all the time there are these conflicts of various kinds. So the topic of this evening is very closely related to what is visible in the world. Therefore, great teachings of non-violence, etc., have come out. But of course, non-violence is then misunderstood. That's another problem. Otherwise, let me say this. Mystics say, in a manner of saying, if 2% people are truly non-violent, not talking about non-violence, not conceptualizing non-violence, if 2% of people in a society, let us say, are truly non-violent, it does something to the whole town. The crime rate will come down. There will be certain quality of mutual cooperation and so on. But the sad part is even graduates from Harvard or Oxford tend to be ambitious. Having gone to Harvard, having come out from Oxford, they are eyeing big pay packages and they will go to any extent. I mean, a good number of them. There are pious ones coming from everywhere. Therefore, I would endorse and appreciate Harshadji's first comment. The conflict in relationship is rooted in fragmented perception of situations.
Prasad sir, please. Prasad sir, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, I raised my hand to know the meaning of that Purna Sloka actually. But Swamiji has answered fully in the chats. And I also wanted to express my appreciation for the talk. It's a wonderful talk. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to hear him on this time. Sir, Krishnaji has said something. He has written up something called the core of the teaching. He wrote it, I think, in 1983. And in that, he says, one is not an individual. That is, I am reading it. His one's perception of life is shaped by the concepts already established in his mind. The content of his consciousness is his entire existence. One's existence is the content of his consciousness. The individuality is the name, the form, and the superficial culture he acquires from tradition and environment. The uniqueness of man doesn't lie in the superficial, but in the complete freedom from the content of his consciousness. This is the crux of the matter. That is, we are all full of the content of our consciousness. The freedom from the content of the consciousness is what really makes us unique. Somebody who is free from the content is unique, not somebody who is full of that content. What Swamiji has said, silence, that silence comes only when there is freedom from the content of consciousness. This content of consciousness, he goes on to say, is common to all humanity, so he is not an individual. So one is not an individual. When you are an individual, you don't have that silence. When you are not an individual, you are full of silence. This is my understanding of that great quotation from Krishnaji. But once again, I express my appreciation of it. It is wonderful talk. Thank you, sir.
Dinesh Waghmare.
Are you able to listen to me, sir?
Yeah, we are able to listen.
Today, what this topic is really difficult in a way that practical, whatever Swamiji and Harshad sir said, that is okay from the philosophical or teachings point of view. But the practical aspects, those aspects are really very tricky in a sense that how to give response in the day-to-day life. That is very that is to be seen. First, there will be some repetition, whatever I will be reading, what Swamiji has said and Harshad sir has said. But it is essential to see how the other what I will be talking is related to it. So first, what JK says. JK says response is a reaction given against any challenge. You get any challenge and you give a response. So basically, normally, whatever the response is given, it is a reaction. And it is a thought-driven process. Response can be adequate or inadequate, and it is inadequacy of response to a challenge that provokes thought with its restlessness. Challenge demands action, not verbalization. Verbalization is thought. That's what he said. He says action implies insecurity, vulnerability to the unknown. Now this is very, really one has to go deep to understand all these things. When he talks about sorrow, what he says? What is sorrow? It is a challenge. Is there an ending to sorrow? Either you respond completely to it, and you can only do that when you have no fear, no caught up in the machinery of pleasure, not escaping from it, seeking comfort, but responding to it with all your energy. This Swamiji and Harshad sir has already pointed out. You have to respond with your full energy. Then that response is the expression of your totality of your energy. Now, what I have to say, well, JK talks of extreme conditions, and we have also talked principally that this is the ideal case that what should be give the total response. But what does that mean in the practical life? JK talks of extreme conditions, response is adequate or inadequate, but my views, there are gray shades also in between, which are also to be considered looking to the fact of life. Most of the actions in practical life involves thought. Even understanding a challenge, apart from mere seeing, pure observation, also requires thought. So in such case, how a response can be total? We know challenge is always new. Also, it is very clear that a response has to be given by individual. This also has been talked. As we are not talking of team response here. So his uniqueness also come into picture. This also has been said by Prasad sir now. Now we say that thought should not come into the picture. This is possible only when the person has completed his self-knowing, self-knowledge and free from the conditioning. This also has been pointed out already. In such a case, response can be said to be total if he puts all his attention, energy to challenge. This also means that total response is possible only when self is not there. Again, his response may not be total. Now, how to judge this response in surroundings? Whether this response is a total or inadequate? This is a very difficult question because this is a world of relativity. All the things are relative, and there is a dynamics, and the world is in a flux. We can say it is a sort of river. So again, his response may not be total or satisfactory if the two persons are involved in transaction. Let us take the case of two persons. As the other person's expectation from his idea, concepts or thought points of view may be different. So one person may be selfless and other is full of vested interest and all that. So how which response will be proper and how it will be total or whether it will be inadequate? It is a very difficult question to say. In such a case, the person should try to give best response from his side to see that a win-win situation is created. Normally in this management and all that, they say that there should be a win-win situation in the best possible way. If at all the nature and society is affected by the response, in any case, then it should contain the positivity for both. Your response should contain positivity for nature as well as the society. Moreover, the challenge and response is unitary movement. Swamiji has pointed out that JK also said that at one level you are one. At the deeper level you are one. So it's a unitary movement. So from non-duality, this is from non-duality point of view. So if person is having wisdom and he has already completed his self-knowing and other things which are there mentioned, then probably his response will be better. This is what I have to say right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Chidanandji, I am requesting just to say what he said, grey market business. Does he making it difficult and more difficult by quoting something, or everything is clear, but still he is saying something? Would you please respond? Because you have already done, there is no free lunch. You just spoke for 5 minutes more, and then you cut 15 minutes from us for 20%. So would you please tell me what is this grey market business?
I don't know about the grey market, but the quotations that he gave are all very appropriate. And whether it adds to any confusion or makes matters clear depends on whether people who heard that quotation understood it rightly or did not understand. When we don't understand the relevance of a quote, our confusion increases. but when we understand its proper place, we feel certain sense of, this makes matters clearer. So I would rather not judge Dineshji's remarks. I personally appreciated them.
What I would like to say, can I say something on this gray shades?
Please do.
Basically, we are talking. Normally, people are talking either or. This mind normally works in polarities. He says either this inadequate or the response is adequate.
Yeah.
Normally, that's our problem. Mind cannot see in totality how are the things. He always moves in between either or. But when we talk of this gray shades, there are conditions which are in between, and you may not be in a position to tackle it in totality altogether. So there are so much variation in this is a multi-dimensional, multifaceted reality, and you have to face a challenge which may contain some factors which are not normally known. Okay, JK said that you have to face the unknown, but for a common person, it has to be seen how he reacts to it. That's what I want to say.
If
Yeah,
you judge, then you are being judged. If you don't judge it, you are not being judged.
It is not a
What I
question of
feel.
judging. It is a question of seek the fact.
No, it's a
Observation.
No, it's not observation. If you name it, if you label it as a difficult, if you label it with some quote or something like that, then it seems that you are bringing some new point. But it is another thing which you are not clearing. If it is difficult, then what are you trying to tell everybody that in your opinion this gray side is this or that? I don't understand that. But it does not mean that I can't stand by it. I stand by it, but I don't understand the viewpoint. Saying first difficult and then making it easy, then saying that my opinion is this. And this I wanted to understand from Chidanandji because he will be there for 10 minutes more. So I request him again to understand this, please, what you said and what you unsaid. Chidanandji, from Chidanandji, I am
I will speak. I will speak.
You are saying
minutes.
that Chidanandji will clear the things. What I
No,
was,
I am not saying.
But I will
I
give
am
you the
not saying.
example.
He may
I
make
will give
it
you the
more
example.
difficult to me. I don't mind.
Suppose
But still, I don't mind to mind anything.
Okay.
There are 4 hands raised. We will give them a chance, and
Okay, yes.
I will
We should move
stay
ahead.
another 5 minutes. Now I'll leave at 7:20 today.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Please give a chance to the 4 hands that have risen.
Sir,
Whom are you calling to
sir,
speak first?
sir,
Yeah, please ask.
can I just make a request, sir? This, so I hope you are able to hear me.
Yes.
Very well.
Yeah.
Are you
Very well.
hearing? Okay. You see, what Swamiji has said about the meaning of that Purna Sloka on the chart, that will disappear after this session. So my request is whether he can say it on the video so that it is available for everybody for a long time. It is valuable. I thought it should not disappear immediately. Thank you, sir.
I can read it out, but it may not help much because it needs to be interpreted, explained, and so on. However, since you made the request, Purnamadaha Purnamidam means that is whole, this is whole, the whole comes from the whole. Even after the whole is taken out from the whole alone remains. I'll paste it on the chat box because when I sent it, it came to everybody. It was sent to everybody. And there was another explanation given, which was sent only to.
I think you can read what you have put on the chat box. That will be.
Yeah, that I read already. I just now read, and I sent one more. Yeah, that I can read now. Number one, I will put it for everyone. I don't want to take much time in this matter. So that is whole, this is whole, that it was said. So what does that mean? What does this mean?
Yes.
So that means God in tradition. This means this creation. God is the source. Creation is what has come from Him. Even when the creation has come from God, God remains whole. Nothing is cut or subtracted from Him. How can there be two wholes? How can there be two infinities? One way to reconcile it is God Himself appears as this world. There are no two real. This was said in the second thing I pasted, which also is now pasted for all.
Janardana and Jana, sir.
Yeah, Janardana is God, Jana is the people or creation. Narayana is God, Nara is the creation. So they are one. Nara eva Narayana, Jana eva Janardana. Such things are said. So let's give a chance to three others who have.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome. Raise the hand. जैन साहब आप इन तीन में से किसको मौका देंगे?
Pradeep sir. Pradeep,
let's
then
hear
Harshad, and then Arun.
Okay. Thank you very much, friends. Today, Dinesh raised a very pertinent point. I appreciated that. Questioning totality in a flux. That I appreciated when he raised this point during his talk. Anyway, I come back to the topic. Today's topic is very interesting. Your human life as a conditioned, limited self responds to various signals received from his her surroundings and experiences thereof. The instrument that perceives total and fragmented itself is fragmented and limited. This instrument is the I. A group of eyes are dialoguing to explore the limitedness in totality and limitedness and totality. Our responses depend on our quality of listening. Harshad ji has also touched upon these points. Our responses depend on our quality of listening. What is the state of mind that receives? Does it have the realization of its existential position? True listening involves the sensitivity of the entire body. Non-verbal communication is possible through intense sensitivity of the whole mind-body complex. Another fact that slips our consideration is the fact we all, being conditioned differently in time and space, have taken Krishnamurti's teachings fragmentarily from one end, from our ends only, invariably from our ends. So our responses are bound to be different, and different they are. Krishnamurti is believed to have responded from emptiness or stillness or nothingness. Krishnamurti responding in a dialogue with Pupul Jaikar and others, this thing is made very clear. This mind game or koan gets resolved once mind realizes it's working partially to serve a micro whole in totality. Fragment is a part of total and may reflect its wholeness like a hologram in certain cases. All case teachings indicated strongly towards the whole, the indivisible and timeless domain where everything fits in great harmony. This is I wanted to share. This came to my mind responding to the topic today. Thank you very much, friends.
Harshad sir.
Yes. If a person says that I know what is the right response, a philosophical response, the correct response, but in practical matters, I will respond differently, then it means that the person is fragmented and he has divided philosophy on one side and practical life on the other side. So the division exists. But my question is it possible that we don't divide it? That means we live what we really believe, or what philosophically what we understand, the same way we live our daily life, then there is no fragmentation. And in that, there will be a spontaneous, correct response. So it requires a kind of a real understanding of ourselves. Then we don't pretend and we try to show differently than what we really are. So in my view, this when we divide the philosophy with the practical, then there is a fragmentation is within us. Otherwise, there is no politically correct response, because many people, they give a response just to please the somebody. But when you are very clear, you speak the truth, what you really deeply feel, and not having the division within you. So that would be a correct response when there is no division within you between philosophy and practical. Okay, I have finished.
Chidanandji, would you please answer Waghmare's query? Because you have to go. Waghmare has raised some query
In the chat box, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, in the chat box. I actually just now answered as a answer to just him. So his question was, please comment. My understanding is even an incomplete thing in our view is Purna in its completeness. Yeah, when we have the right insight, we will be able to see the whole in the part. So in physics, there is something called holography. In a holographic image, holo comes from the word whole. In a holographic image, take any small part, separate it, but in that small part, the whole is. So the part carrying the whole is a valid proposition. It's a mystery of this creation. Therefore, yes, in a part, the whole is. But who is able to see it is the big question. Sri Ramakrishna sat in Dakshineshwar and he experienced the whole universe in him. Vivekananda went all over the world. That was his way. So the mystics actually are able to see the whole in a part, but if they want, they outwardly also touch the whole. Otherwise, sitting in a Himalayan cave also some mystics perceive the whole. Therefore, I would agree with Dinesh Waghmare that the incomplete thing has actually Purna in it. But do we have the eyes to see it is the $1 million question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chidanandji. And goodbye, Chidanandji.
Goodbye.
Namaste. Thank you.
You are good in both
Ram-
welcoming and
yeah. But with the same spirit, I welcome, I say goodbye. Rama Rao sir, we can't call the person you mentioned in your note because he is not able to join Zoom meeting. He is against Zoom meeting. So this is the only platform available to us. So we cannot call Kishore Khernar. Thank you. Arun Partha. Arun, please.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Hmm.
So actually, from this topic, what I could understand is more of this mental responses. How do we respond to different kind of, in our relationship and all that. But I just wanted to know, like, I feel personally that what we lack is also a physical response, because we have brought, especially in India, no, we have never been taught that we should have we don't use our physical touch much. It's more of in the Western world and all that. So we we are not very expressive. We are not expressing or showing our affection through a touch and all that. So don't you all feel that this is one of the things, if we can scale it up, it will be in India itself. If that has been more of a liberty in that, it would help resolve a lot of problems. Because if you see, everybody requires basically a shoulder to cry on, rather than they feel very content when somebody lends their shoulder to cry. So and I think even recently I've noticed that there are different kind of therapies using physical contacts, right? Not in a sexual way, but I'm just telling you generally. So I feel that is something very important, and we are not yet reached to that level. Thank you.
Harshad Parekh sir, would you please clear the things now?
Yeah, yes, I would say that the physical response will be good if there is understanding, maturity, affection in the person who is expressing physically. Just like when a teacher goes to the classroom and he finds that students are making a lot of noise, then how does this teacher respond? Like when I go to classroom and students are making a lot of noise, and if I get angry, then it means that I am not responding properly. So what I would do, I would go to some student, put my hand on the shoulder of the student, and will tell the student, let us all quiet down. And then I think that it really works. When you touch the student gently and tell them gently that let us all sit down quietly, and then there is a real right atmosphere where a teacher and student, they can learn together the subject, and that would I would consider a very good response. So I would say the physical response, if it comes from psychological stability, maturity, affection, then it really helps. But if the physical response comes from um, some other source, not a very mature, having no maturity, it can sometimes create misunderstanding. So it depends from what source the physical response comes. Okay, I have finished.
Waghmare, now you can say whatever you like. Still 10 minutes are left.
Harshad sir, what you have just explained,
Hmm.
I was also saying the same thing. There is no division between philosophy and practical, but you have to see philosophically, you know that a particular car can run up to 120 kilometers. But when the road is not good, there are big these things, holes and all that in the road. Then you have to run the car at a speed of say 60 or 40. So similarly, you said that when you see the students and they are not matured, but you know what is the best response. But looking to the situation, you have to take the right decision and then move ahead, isn't it?
Yes, but the example you are giving about the car and comparing it with psychological, I think it doesn't work. So if you are playing some kind of a political response, according to the situation, that means there is a division within you, I feel. In psychological sense is quite different than the physical sense of the car which you mentioned. That is what I feel. You
Sir,
can't give different response to different people.
Sir, if I and you both are involved, then I have to take care of your views also, and then only I can move ahead with the best consensus, considering the practical and these situations, isn't it?
Harshad sir, you cannot touch me in Zoom meeting. The way you said that you can put some hand over a student, that's not possibility in Zoom meeting. Take care of that.
In Zoom meeting, yes,
Or
yes.
there is
Here
no
the students
possibility
are
of that.
very.
And number two, I don't consider philosophy. Philosophy is the worst thing. Gautam Buddha said that I don't need this philosophy. Krishnamurti said number of times that I am against philosophy. Nobody wanted philosophy. And you can add in car philosophy in making 60 speed of the car 60, then the things run away. I do not understand how you convert philosophy in a science. How do you convert philosophy in
Sir,
spirituality? Whatever I have
Sir,
learned, philosophy is something very, very, very rubbish. It has got nothing to do with the spirituality.
Sir,
What I
philosophy is
feel.
a very broad.
Let me get answer from Harshad sir first, then from you. The time left, you can respond whatever you wanted.
Yes,
Harshad,
the true meaning of philosophy is love for truth.
Love for truth.
So a person like Krishnamurti is considered to be a philosopher because he really was deeply interested in finding the truth, which is not the fact or reality, but it is something seeing things very, very clearly. Even seeing a tree or seeing what is behind when a person is speaking, the essence. So a person who is deeply interested in the essence of the thing, I would consider such a person as a philosopher. And like one sentence which Krishnaji said to one artist, the word parrot has blocked you from looking at the thing which flies. So when we see the real essence of a human being or an animal, not through words, not through information, then that seeing is the truth. And that I would consider that kind of seeing as a philosophy. Philosophy doesn't mean just talking about anything, but it is seeing everything clearly, the essence behind the thing. Okay, I have finished. Yeah.
Language blocks too. Language blocks too.
Yes, that's right.
That's why we have to be very particular about the language.
Sir, my views are.
Just let me finish first, please. Please be kind to others also, sir. Now you say. Say whatever.
Now you are finished. Now you are finished.
No, I am completely finished. Nothing remains for me now. Totally finished. Because I am saying language blocks me. You say still you wanted to use further language. Please.
There is a phone call for Sushil Jain Sahab, I think. Anyway, in my views, basically,
please go ahead.
Yeah, in my views, actually, philosophy is a very wide and broad word, and this covers the aspect which Harshad sir said is that is okay. But in other places, we see that athato dharma jigyasa, athato tattva jigyasa. When we talk of some this worldly principles and on what principles world moves, that also is covered under philosophy. And even in engineering, when we design something, I have been designing many things. So in that also, when we say, what is the philosophy? Why you are designing this? So when that principle is to be seen, or the truth has to be seen behind this, on based on which ideology will come later on. So that is philosophy. Philosophy means principle. What is the truth in it, on which you are going to move ahead, and you will try to make the ideology for it. When we talk of ideology, all the SOPs and all the procedures and all the resource and all the this thing comes into the ideology, and then there is a practical implementation. So this philosophy word is a very wide word, and this covers everything in essence, if you see. Thank you.
सुशील क्या बोल रहे हैं इसके बारे में?
हमारे दर्शन कहा गया है, जिस चीज को आप दर्शन देखेंगे, जिसका दर्शन लेंगे, बेसिकली वो फिलोसॉफी हमारे यहाँ.
सुशील जी कहाँ गए?
उनको फोन आया है सर.
I am very much here,
Very much here, and even
but some phone call is coming, so that's a making a disturbance. So other than Dinesh Waghmare, there are so many different disturbances also in my life.
Sir, my awareness has already told me that you are on the phone call. So I am aware of every disturbance and nuisance.
If you see yourself aware, you are not aware. Please take a note of it.
Awareness is automatically coming to me, sir. I'm not making any effort.
If you were aware, you will not come into the trap of the language. Generally, you comes in the trap of the language. You say too many things. Mind, no mind, everything at the same time, and then see the differences and then ask others to indulge in that.
That is the practical reality, sir.
Maybe I may be wrong. Maybe every possibility of me being wrong as far as discussion with you. But I think the others can decide. Let others decide this, please. And Dinesh Waghmare, now it is 7:29. 1 minute is left. Please make some use of language and say something more.
Let Harshad sir conclude it.
I will appreciate that. I will appreciate that. This is demanded. Otherwise, you say without demand.
Sorry, sir. Let Harshad sir conclude it.
No, sir. I will apologize, Harshad sir. Don't worry, but you conclude today.
Okay, then if I had to conclude, then today's topic was very good. At the same time, it was difficult. Everybody has talked very good. Swamiji has also
by making everybody right, you don't become right, sir.
No, but you see, so now, every individual is right in his place, no?
Now I am handing it over to Harshad sir to conclude.
No, every individual is right from his place.
A minute talk from Harshad, please. Please be with.
Okay.
I am following your instruction given earlier.
Okay.
No, I would say that our response will be proper if we are very silent and affectionate. Then we can listen even to somebody who is telling something unpleasant, but listening is very important in responding. If we listen with agitation, then our response will not be correct. So how to listen is very much connected with responding rightly. Okay, thank you very much. Finish.
Finish
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
Modak, please close it.
Yes, sir.